We are good.
Welcome, everybody. This is a special business meeting of the Portland Board of Public Education. Tonight, it is Thursday, January 29th, 2026. We are meeting in a totally virtual format tonight. And we do have quorum here tonight. I do expect a couple other board members to join as we move through. But Dr. Warren, would you be able to call the roll?
Yes, I will. Um, oops. Okay. Board member Ali, member Yusra Ali, Vice Chair Bondo, member Bryden, member Lena,
It sounds like there might be a couple of folks on the
for the
participant
election,
side.
I'll move them over now.
Okay.
okay. Member Lena, member Noor,
Here.
member Opperman,
Here.
member Sawtell,
Here.
Student Representative Grant, Student Representative Milstein Jones, Student Representative Mohammed, Student Representative O'Brien, Chair Lentz.
Present. So thank you for doing the roll. As a reminder for folks at home and those here, this emergency meeting is to revisit the idea of the emergency remote learning plan. We took some time to talk with legal, and also I think that we have more information to present tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Superintendent and his staff for some more information, and then we'll go from there. Board Member Ali, do you have a question right now?
No, just I wanted to say I'm here. I missed the roll call.
We gotcha.
Thank you.
I'm here as well too.
Thank you, Vice Chair Bondo. I will make sure to add both of you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Chair Lentz. We are obviously in a very fluid situation as things adjust and wanting to make sure that we're being responsive and serving the community, while recognizing that as much as possible, the best place for students is in our schools. And that we are supportive for all of our community and making sure that they're able to access academics and also be responsive to lost learning time that has come. I wanted to just make sure we had the right context in terms of what attendance has looked like and is looking like. And so I'm just going to start by sharing that quickly, and then share the short-term remote, while acknowledging that there's some moving pieces on this. So I think you guys can see this now. I'll make it a little bigger. But I'm gonna show the table or the chart at the bottom first. So this chart shows what attendance has looked like. This is the percent of students absent from Friday the 16th through yesterday. And the blue line here is all students. The yellow line is Black students, Hispanic students, and multilingual students. Okay. Recognizing that students may, in this chart, belong in multiple groups. What you can see is that attendance has not gotten back to pre-surge levels, but we do see, at least in the 2 days from Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, some return and some decrease in the overall absence rate. Okay, so that's just one I want to highlight, is you do see that doing. And we don't have here today's because the breakdown for multilingual learners and demographics don't come in until tomorrow morning when our data system rolls forward. Up above on this, and this is included in Diligent, what you can see here is what the absence rate was through January 16th. So the first day of school through January 16th. So for all students, it was 7.71% of students would be absent. At a high point was on Tuesday of this week, where it was 21.3. And on Wednesday, it returned down 5 points to 16.36. And then for the schools, you can see 9 elementary schools. Cliff is not listed here. And you can see our middle and high schools listed here. And you can see how attendance both varied before the surge as well as the impact on the school has varied, right? If you look at this school right here, there was a bump Thursday, I think that is, of last week. No, it's not. It's Wednesday of last week, Tuesday of last week. Tuesday, Wednesday, but then back down to 3.24. So you see that there's been actually better improvement there, but then you have another school where it's still 16 points higher than pre-surge. And at the high school level, you see also differences in terms of what the experience has been. So wanted to share that context to say that, as was announced earlier today, that the enhanced enforcement is over, or at least that's what was announced. One, it'll likely take some time for us to fully see that. And we are seeing some initial return and better attendance. And so that's the first piece I want to share. And let me pause there and see if there are any questions about attendance or the patterns we're seeing to see if I can answer that first.
And just before we take any questions, could someone please move Board Member Lena over?
I will do that now.
I can do
Thank
it.
you.
I already did it.
And then board members, what questions do you have? Yeah, Board Member Lena, go ahead.
I was just saying hi.
Hello, welcome. We're glad you're over on this side. Board Member Sawtelle, we'll go to you.
It may be impossible to tell, but can we attribute any of this to increased efforts to help people get to school, provide transportation, walking school buses, stuff like that?
I mean, I don't think we at this point can individually target that. And I feel confident that the effort that's been going in around making sure that families have alternative transportation if needed is helping, right? We see both staff and family members and community members that are driving students. And so I'm sure that is having some impact and worth continuing. I'll also just name that we don't have it on the chart, but I did just pull up today's attendance, and it is 12.52% absent. So yesterday it was 16.36. Today it's 12. So continuing the positive trend.
Dr. Scallon, from that 12-point number that you just gave, are you able to share which schools are still kind of the hot points or where we're missing the most students?
Yes. At the secondary level, Deering and Portland High continue to be high, with actually Deering having better attendance today than Portland, which is different than the trend has been. At the elementary level, Reiki is still high, but just like to name, Reiki was 16% absent today. At its high point was 32%.
Wow.
Thank
you.
So there's that. Yeah.
Vice Chair Bondo, first of all, welcome back. And if there's any context that you need, I know you couldn't be at the meeting earlier this week, so just let us know if you have other questions. But please go ahead with your question.
Thank you. I'm just wonder on the Hispanic number, the percentage. Can you I don't know if maybe on the top on your head, superintendent, because that number used to be higher, even though in the previous way. So I just wonder if he's still across the same or he's more higher than he used to be, because they used to be, the specific population of our students, the absenteeism, they've been so high for a couple of years now on the same strength, like a 30%, 30, 38 or close by. So I'm just wonder if it's still the same or if we saw a little difference.
So the data I have right now is I don't have absence rates for January for up to January 16th broken out by demographic. Just we weren't able to turn it around quick enough for the request today. But if you look at this chart, which is showing from Friday the 16th
Right.
through Wednesday, you do see that its starting spot for our Hispanic students was higher, that the district was 10%,
Right.
and our Hispanic students on that day was at 19%. And so I do think you would see that overall it is higher, and that they are impacted, right, the most also in
Yes.
the surge and increase in attendance. And but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what the impact has been,
Okay.
what the trend has been overall.
All right. Thank you.
What other questions do folks have? Yeah, Board Member Satel, and then we'll go to Board Member Ali.
What are the things looking like at adult education?
I don't actually have the numbers in front of me. We didn't include them in this ask because they had already shifted to being able to offer more remote because that's already part of their portfolio. I know that when I talked to their interim director, Kate Hersom, was at yesterday, they had still had some pretty high absent rates, even with the option of remote. I didn't get a further update today, but certainly they had school on Monday, even though we had a snow day. And so, but they didn't see a strong return.
Board Member Ali, do you still have a question?
Yeah, not a question. I think more of a comment. I feel just a little bit of I don't know if anybody else is feeling this, but a little bit of uneasiness when we're kind of putting out the demographics of Black and Hispanic, specifically because of the risks right now. I don't know if anyone else is feeling that, but maybe even having an executive meeting rather than having it like this. But I just wanted to share that. It's kind of it feels risky.
I appreciate you sharing that, Ali. I think I understand that, and I also understand that looking at these disaggregated groups feels important. If they were smaller sample sizes that could really connect individuals to schools or other locations, I think I could push really hard for that. But I think right now, I think we need to keep it here. And also, I don't think it would fall under executive session law, unfortunately. But I hear what you're saying. Any other thoughts or questions? I'm curious if any of the leaders here, I have just been on the phone constantly today with just different organizations and communities and things. And, I'm hearing that while there's a bit of a relief that the announcement came from Susan Collins, the fear and the vigilance and the kind of, unsettledness is still very, very present. And I'm just curious if folks could speak about kind of the atmosphere in schools right now.
So can I ask Grace to speak to that, Grace shared a little bit of reflection of what she was hearing from the multilingual team in their conversations. And so, Grace, if you could.
Good evening, everybody. I asked my staff regarding the temperature or for families after the announcement of Susan Collins, and there's still healthy skepticism around our families, and they're still afraid. Although some folks are now going to work, there are still people who are not able to go out and go to work or get their groceries. So it's the anxiety is lessened certainly, but they're still guarded and they're concerned that is there something that we don't know that will be a big one after this calm, or is this just a ruse for us to let our guards off and then be caught in the streets?
Thank you, Dr. Valenzuela. So, I guess I'm wondering two things, kind of like where the board is given this new information, kind of like if like what kind of conversation folks feel like we need to have. We could also look at the motion that we worked with legal counsel on to kind of see what that looks like. And I see Board Member Opperman's hand is up, so why don't you go ahead and ask your question, Board Member Opperman.
It's not a question. I think we need to talk this through. I think we need to have a plan so that we don't run into a situation, oh gosh, let's have another meeting, to have a plan because just to be ready. And I agree with Grace's team's assessment of things. We're in for a very long haul. It may not be this particular situation, but I think we're, we just need to be ready to do what we need to do at a moment's notice. And so I think I'd like to see what came of your meeting with legal, and if others are willing, have a discussion.
That sounds good. Board Member Bryden, go ahead.
Thanks. I would echo that, and I would also just sort of, reinforce the concept of making sure that we are ready, even if the data is trending in a good direction now, that might not continue to be the case, and the threat and the risk might return or shift. And so I would like to see us invest this time and energy now, and whether we need to, pivot to an emergency plan next week, 2 weeks from now, 3 months from now, I want to make sure that whatever energy we put into making plans gets retained so that we can leverage it when we need to.
I just wanted to add also,
yeah, go ahead.
I mentioned summer school the other night, and I think that because of budget planning, something should be there and ready for that. I mean, if we use it for other reasons, that's awesome, but I think we should be ready. Thank you.
Thank you. So Superintendent Scanlon, do you want to walk us through the motion or the proposal?
Yeah, and can I just say one thing in advance that I think is important for the board to consider is I don't think it needs to be an either or of either we do this or we don't, right? To Board Member Bryden and Opperman's points. I think it could be something that the planning continues, right? Even before the board asked us to consider this, we had staff already working and doing some of the planning. And so what I'm going to walk you through is the motion that came from legal, the academic team, right, with Dr. Proctor, Dr. Atkinson-Duena, and Dr. Ahmed shared on Tuesday some of the outlines of what the work would look like, right? And both spoke to, we can do this, and it's far from perfect. And so this motion or this resolution or this outline of what it is recognizing that this may not be exactly what we put together, if we had the information that the ICE enforcement had slowed down at that time. So let's just like recognize that we're like being fluid in this. Because I do wonder if one of the options in the interim is that we shift some budget funds to provide some robust tutoring for students that are both returning for their missed time, as well as those who may not return. But that may be an intermediate step while we continue to watch the trends. And that's not what you're going to see here because of the fluid nature of this. So this is available in Diligent, and I'm just going to pull it up here in a Google Doc to show you. What it does is it allows a student to, or their family, to indicate that they would like to attend the program because of an inability to attend school, and that they would submit an application, and the principal would review it, and based on their attendance, generally move a student into the program if they're having attendance struggles because of this current environment we're in. It says here in number 2 that if a student application was denied for some reason, they'd have a right to appeal. It talks about if a student has an IEP or a 504 plan, they would have an IEP team meeting to review fit. It talks about if students are admitted into the program but are not actually participating, recognizing the attendance challenges, it's a possibility that we may ask them to return back to in-person. We would also engage with them, right, to figure out what the attendance barriers are, what's all of that work. And it says up here that this is a little bit of a question of what the threshold is, but it says that we would offer this program as long as the attendance rate is below 90%, but that if it returned to closer to pre-surge levels, that the program would stop. The details on exactly what the program is the presentation that was done on Tuesday in terms of more of a packet base at the elementary level with some targeted support, and at the secondary level, accessing their Google Classroom and virtual access into classes. And we can have, if it's worth having any update on that, we can certainly have Dr. Proctor or Dr. Ahmed or Dr. Atkinson-Duena on those pieces.
What questions do people have? Yeah, Board Member Ali. Ali?
Yeah, I would like to ask Dr. Ahmed, being a person of color and immigrant, what do you think about this? I mean, not in a bad way, I'm an immigrant too, but what do you think about this plan to move forward, and how do you think it would be affecting them, students that are not able to go to school academically and whatnot?
Thank you, Ali. As we know, all parents want their kids to be in school learning, and this is the circumstances that are making things like there are adults who are not going to work, and so similarly, there are students who are not going to schools. So this is an effort to accommodate these students who at this time in these circumstances. But given that this goes away and we have the opportunity to bring them back or to get everyone safe to the schools, we know that the schools are safe for and better for learning. So it's not something that we would say like this is the best way or the platform that we wanted at this time. But in the meantime, because of the context, there are students who are not coming to school. So this is the best way to meet where they are. So I don't know if I answered your question, but this is just to meet the students where they are and families and make sure that they are still have access and opportunities to education.
Yeah, no, thank you. You did answer, so I appreciate it.
Vice Chair Bondo, go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Chair. I'm not really too much comfortable with that process because I feel like it's too much complex for many families, especially family who are really concerned right now. And I'm just say to some of the two reasons, because especially on the elementary schools, because when we see the parents right now, the most concern is the safety and the emotion stress. So I think the focus on filling those applications, if it's too much complicated to fill the application, or the process will be so simple, so all the students can be qualified. Because when I look at the bullet number 2, the paragraph number 2 is that under the discretion of the principal and any application can be denied. So I'm just wonder why we putting a process and feel like then we may have some reason to deny some of those applications. What's the reason to deny those applications? Because when I heard Dr. Ahmed, and we really need those students who are facing those kind of situations to be able to be qualified and to still having education. So I think the number 2, that's exactly what's holding me to support that process, because I feel like it's going to be too much complex and complicated for families who need.
I just put on the screen a very short draft of what it would be, with the idea being that staff could also complete it in partnership with. We're trying to make sure that we have the option, right, and the availability, and we have to be very careful about opening up a virtual option, and not opening it up to a space where folks are accessing it for a number of reasons, right? So there's a possibility that somebody may say that in an IEP team meeting, they're regularly attending, but they would prefer to learn virtually. And so that's a case. Or there is concerns around district policy or a curriculum piece, and they would prefer to learn virtually as opposed to in person. And we have to be careful about opening where the folks can go for any reason, and that it becomes in perpetuity. And so the design was to make it as tight as possible around that.
I really understand. I really understand where we're coming from with that, but I'm sorry, the chair. Yeah, I'm just wonder after see what happened with the hybrid and all the online learning after during COVID, the failure of our student to get connected, the technology, and sometimes they don't have enough the hotspots to be connected. So I'm still so cautious, and I'm not really in favor to the area or moving them really to the space of learning virtually. Because I say, if we see the surge moving forward, I feel like, okay, we can, we don't have to rush and see how the returning can be step by step, instead of really moving to those applications to that context or having them to be remote. I'm not really in favor to that remote in that stage right now. Yes, that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Bondo. Board Member Sawtelle?
Hi. I'm still not clear on how it would work at the middle school and high school level. So say there's a classroom of 20 students and 2 of them are working remotely. Do they just join a Google Meet? Their teacher joins a Google Meet and keeps the camera on while they teach a regular class in school, and the students access assignments, etc., through Google Classroom, or what is the plan for that?
I think right now, we had a meeting yesterday with some of our union partners, and we were fleshing out some of these same questions. And the first thing that we want to highlight, or at least I would like to highlight, is that this is by no means an effort um, to make a parallel to what the student would experience in the school environment. And it's also intended to be very short-term and temporary of a measure until we could support the families to get the student to attend. To answer your question specifically, what we shifted to thinking about is how complex and difficult this is without going into a full virtual mode. So it would be a combination of access to asynchronous activities through Google Classroom, in addition to the offering of office hours or support hours for students. Um, there is some communication that has gone out to the secondary schools whereby we are supporting teachers to be, ready at the ready. But we also want to be careful that we are not building up on workload for our teachers and making for a difficult scenario for them to be able to execute on. So with that, again, it's looking at a mix of asynchronous based on assignments and activities that would be available to students in Google Classroom, in addition to the offering of some office hours and some time that would be made available for students to connect with an adult. Dr. Ahmed, would you like to add to that?
Definitely, Dr. Proctor. The using of all of the above methods, which includes like that office hours that Dr. Proctor mentioned. If there is one student who is not in your class and that teacher feels like I'll meet with that student and they are comfortable and this is where they are for 25 minutes in Block 5 in Portland High School, which is the Learning Center at Deering High School, or ACAD at Casco Bay, and or it is a student who will dial into the classroom and will be part of the book discussion. So it is, I know the teachers are really ready for supporting and they want support. And the same thing, the administrators are ready to support. So there is readiness from the staff to meet the students where they are. But so that's the vibe that is there. Like everyone wants help and they want to really go beyond what they can do. And so that's where we are as a community and we see but if the classroom, and again, the other night also I mentioned about depending on how many students are absent from the classroom and just adjusting and adapting to this. It will be different if there is a class of two classes of the same sections of science, and the students who are absent are half of the students in each class. Then we can combine these classes, and the principals have that bird view of of the schedule and how they can adjust. But at this time, it's like what we are looking is like how we meet the student needs, and the staff. We're grateful that we have great staff who are ready to really adapt and adjust and meet the students where they are.
And when we're ready, I could offer also some guardrails in terms of how we are looking at this, in terms of our takeaways from our meeting yesterday, also with our union partners. But I'll pause because I see a number of hands up at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Porter. Vice Chair Bondo, go ahead.
Yes, I'm coming back again because I'm not in favor of all again the process. Due all the respect, Dr. Ahmed and and Dr. Proctor, because I've been on the line. The thing is, this is a short period. I don't think so we can see the way it's really happening. I know that family I heard I am in the community, and I see and I heard what families, but the thing is, when kids are home, they don't have any control on the technology, on the hotspot, on the learning. They are off of the camera, so we don't know what we're inputting. We're investing a lot of money, but the result of what we expecting for the kids to have to be educated is not going to happen, because family, they have most emotional surviving mode to be connected with school. So I really want us to see how can we see if the surges start coming down and to start getting little confident for the kids to start coming back step by step, so we can build some tutoring and get them where they are and start rebuilding the foundations, and then for us to rush and to be on the virtual and be them on the line, they won't be connected at all. So there's going to be a long time for the teacher to prepare the material, and then you're never going to see any focus and emotion to the family. So I still don't see the result, because after the COVID, we have to invest a lot of money. And I remember during Ravier to build the foundation of the instruction back again because of that. So that's a lesson learned. Then I'm really opposing to be able to rush right now and go to that online, just because we feel like then we need to support those students, but they can come step by step back to the school and be safe at school. So that's where I'm standing. Yes.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Board Member Sautel?
As someone who taught, during COVID, I can't say that in my family because my daughter still says COVID's everywhere. I don't think it needs to be this complicated on a short-term basis. Most teachers at the secondary level put everything in Google Classroom anyway, or they have materials on their computers that they could, just email to a student to access assignments and readings and whatever, and to just click on a Google Meet and have the teacher with a computer on in their classroom while they're teaching, and a student at home, to me seems better than having them completely absent. I don't think there needs to be a lot of extra work that goes into it. I mean, the students, it won't be 100%, but it's better than nothing. And it just seems to me to be a really simple thing. There's a Google Meet link, the kid clicks it. I mean, we're all doing it right now, right? The teacher clicks it, the kid clicks it. If they have a question, they can email or raise their hand on Google Classroom. So maybe you have one eye, or you have a student who's like, hey, their hand is up. I'm not, and it's not a massive amount of extra work to teachers. Most teachers are now using Google Classroom and things like that to have kids turn in assignments, or, Google Docs to turn in writing assignments. And if there are other activities that are being done in the classroom, then a student at home isn't necessarily participating in that part, which is kind of a shame, but they can be part of a group discussion, or they just missed that one, that 15% of a lesson. I just feel like we're overcomplicating this at this point.
Thank you, Board Member Sautel. Board Member Opperman?
Thank you, Chair. I've got a couple questions and thoughts. One, how many students do we anticipate would need this program at this point? And so how much preparedness would it be if it was the full district during COVID? What's the number that might be involved now or anticipated? I do think I completely understand what you're talking about, Vice Chair Bondo, as far as the engagement of a student doing something online at home. It varies from student to student. Sound like from our conversation on Tuesday that there were students that were asking for it. But that, according to Dr. Valenzuela, there were people that didn't want to separate their families out from each other. And that safety aspect was very critical. They wanted to be home. Because otherwise, my third comment or plan or whatever, one, so I guess one thing, how many? Two, what do we need to get them to school now? If they want to come, if they feel safe enough, is it the transportation? According to Dr. Valenzuela, that wasn't it, but that might be one option. I think we should plan it. Whether we don't even use it. It sounds silly to make time to plan something that we're not going to use, but it's kind of like a part of our emergency plan, is what I look at this at. If we don't implement it Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, maybe it'd be next year. Unfortunately, I mean, these things happen. So I'll stop to ask how many, and can we plan it without implementing it?
Dr. Opperman, I'd sort of say two things. One is I think the data is fluid enough that we couldn't give you an exact number today of what it would be. And I think that's partially why when we looked at the attendance, I wonder if it is worth waiting and planning, but monitoring so that we get a better sense of exactly what it is, because we are seeing a return. And I think the return rate would probably vary if we were offering a virtual option or if we weren't. And so I don't think we can answer the exact number. We know it's not zero, but I don't think we have the exact number. In terms of the second piece, yes, we actually started planning before we saw the drop in attendance, and we could continue to do it and continue to refine it. And I think there's some things we could do in the interim, like freeing up some money and providing tutoring for both students in school as well as students that are not attending. That could be like an interim measure that I think would have some positive impact.
Could just 1 second, could we bring Ali over again? And go ahead, Board Member Upperman.
In the planning stage, knowing how different the people having uncertainty of what they would need to put together, may I offer a suggestion that there is some kind of SOP for teachers, for everyone, for special ed and all, to say, if this is what you're going to have to produce in a short period of time, are you prepared for that? Do you need some resources in order to be ready for it, or just to make the SOP? So complete it. So that's just something I would say, because ballpark wise, are we talking 1,000, 2,000? I mean, we could be talking, no, okay, we're not talking 1,000 students. Okay, because that's when I'm saying how many. No, it's not 10 or is it 15? Is it 200 or is it 1,000? It's not. We're not talking 1,000 kids.
To give you a sense, the difference between today's attendance and the attendance rate on average for the district pre-January 16th is 5 percentage points. So if you assume that about 7.7% of students are going to be absent no matter what, 5 percentage points is the difference to today. 5% of the district is, what is that, 300 students, but not all of them are because of this, right? So there's noise there. So
okay,
that gives you
we at least have an idea, because otherwise it's not COVID 6,000.
No. And to give you a sense, if we had this same conversation, same question, and you asked me that number difference 2 days earlier and why this is so fluid, it was 21%. So that difference is 14, right? That's 800 something students. So this is a significant change in a very short time. both up and then back down around attendance.
Okay. Thank you.
Board Member Lena?
Thank you. I had a follow-up question to Board Member Sautel's proposal of just how she was saying that it would be fairly easy for staff to just transition to, looping a student in virtually. My question is about privacy and having a Google Meets in a classroom full of students, if there are any issues with that. I'm gonna assume that the screen should be turned to the teacher, but we know the teacher's not always in the front of the classroom. And if I know that, cameras in the classroom can be an issue for privacy, so I'm wondering about that.
Are you asking me or other people?
You can take it if you know the answer. I don't, but anyone.
I mean, when I did that, the camera was actually usually pointed at my whiteboard. And if I felt like the students at home needed to see me, in addition to the students in the classroom, I would move in front of the camera. And I never required kids at home to have their cameras on. And for security reasons, they certainly could use their initials or something else on their screen. For that reason, I wouldn't have kids in the classroom also sign into Google Classroom. Like you're either at home on Google Meet or you're in the room. And yeah, the for me, the camera pointed at the whiteboard or something else that's helpful for a student to be seeing. And then I usually kept it at my desk and I would just pop in and wave and say, do you need anything or whatever.
Board Member Yusra Ali, go ahead.
Hi, I was wondering if I'm just suggesting, have we discussed the option of maybe a recorded classrooms and also following with what Member Sawtell just said about having the camera just point at the front of the classroom or the teacher? I felt like when I was in school during COVID, um, having a recorded classroom made it so that I have more of a responsibility to actually engage with the material, compared to just attending class and having my name on the screen and not really pay attention. So I feel like this would allow students to, access the material anywhere, anytime, and I'm just wondering if that has been talked about.
I think part of the takeaway again from our meeting was that we want to, for a temporary measure that we're offering to students, we want to mitigate, the additional workload that we would be putting on teachers and staff. We did not talk about that for some of those reasons, because it would take that additional time. But it definitely is something that, we could take back to the table. But I think, again, we're not really trying to match perfectly what's happening within the school. As I hear Board Member Bondo, it really reinforces again that this is really a temporary measure that would be revisited and examined every 5 days or a few days to ensure that we are constantly trying to support the family as best as we can if there is an option for them to return to school full time.
Thank you, Dr. Proctor. Board Member Bryden?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to I really appreciate Board Member Sawtell's experience having been in a COVID classroom, and I really appreciate that perspective. And at the same time, I keep thinking about how that part of the conversation seems to be, we seem to be talking about students that are like motivated and able to focus and access the material and all those things, and there are so many kids that like would treat it that way. I also really want to hold in my mind, at least, the kids that were school's not easy and like part of getting in the building is the educators that are like tap dancing and throwing a party and making kids feel happy to be there. And like, then that's how some of these kids get at the learning. And so I just want to be really, really, really careful about making it seem, and I know that nobody is saying, oh, it's just easy peasy, but I want to just really pause on, being very, very, very cautious. And also, I think the other piece of that is that grade bands, a junior or a senior might be able to like absolutely join a Google Meet, but I don't know about all the sixth graders and be able to really focus and access all the material in the same way with the same effectiveness. Of course, anything that we're doing is not going to be as effective as being in a classroom, but I just want to like make sure that we're balancing those factors as well.
Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Vice Chair Bondo, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you again. I'm coming back again because when we talk about Google Meet, is not giving to everybody. The technology is not giving to all the family we really want to serve. So it has been already to the database. They really have a technology issue and also by device. So is everything combining on that. So I just want to come back because I heard the superintendent mention about freezing some money funding for the tutoring. Can you explore that option? Because I can lean to the option of tutoring where we can, catch up the student where they are. So if the superintendent can just talk a little bit about that, the aspects, what he meant by freezing funding for the tutoring. So for me, I will lean to keep watching if the rate is still going down so we can encourage students to come back. If it's really keep going high, that's the time, I can lean back to have that one to the virtual, but still now, I'm not leaning to it. So can we hear a little bit about the option of tutoring, please?
Yeah, so I think there's a possibility that we look at savings we may have in other areas and shift and offer to students, both students that have now returned but missed a week or two of school, targeted small group tutoring. And we could also do it with folks that are still not able to return or don't feel safe returning as they're watching to see how the situation evolves. And I think we could put that out to teachers and educators in our community to provide that. And I think we would have interest in that. And so, and that could be aligned to the curriculum that we have and be small and focused and be an interim step. And I think we didn't come today with that proposal because, again, we're like sort of being fluid on this and being responsive. But I think that's something that we could offer up pretty quickly to students.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, Board Member Ali. Last
Yeah,
comment.
I have a question for Board Member Bondo. Could you explain what harm would come out of given an option for individuals that would like to attend online classes, live streaming, whatever? Like what type of harms would come out of it? Is it financial? Is it I understand the language barrier. I understand the lack of understanding technology for certain families, but the ones that are capable, I just want to know what negative pieces could come out of that.
Yes, so the way I see and the one I have learned, because I just came back and I've been already in the community. So the thing is that people they really get afraid, but they are not really on the side of the school. They really want the kids to be at school. So that means if we have an option because we just don't know how many of those students they want to be able to attend online. So that means we can give them those options, but I feel like it's something that I don't want to keep pushing on that because I know exactly, especially secondary, they are not really too much focused right now because everything is happening in the house. Families, parents, they are not focused on any education right now. So that means we really need to start see how we can support the student. If the school coming back to school is more safe for them, I really push to encourage them to come at school and be among other students so they can have a better life and be more safe and start feeling more comfortable than just stay inside the house and be emotional and they are not learning it much. So I mean, you ask me a question, I don't know how many students they may have it, but the process for me, I feel like it's too rushing right now. Then instead of encouraging students to feel safe and to come back to school. So that's what I can say.
Okay, thank you for that. I don't know. I do actually, I completely understand where you're coming from. I just think that, and I'm not really trying to push back too much, but I think that, it's according to how parents feel, right? And if parents want the kids to go to school, they can go to school. But actually, just thinking about all of this, right? I don't know if this is also an idea, but maybe planting it into everybody's heads. Like the problem with and the safety concerns are from home to the bus, right? Or walking, whatever. And then from the bus inside of schools. And then the return of, schools into the bus and then home or walking. Would we ever even consider security guards, right? That could, without warrant specifically, you can't come in. Just thinking about that, maybe. I don't know if that's a possibility, but if we're trying to get students in school, then I think it's just having something. But aside from that, I also want to state the concern of individuals that, even if they are citizens, right, of color, and they are like concerned because like people are still getting taken even as citizens, right? If my 6-year-old gets taken as a citizen, it's just like, okay, what? And there is that concern, and I obviously can feel that because even though we are citizens, like it's a huge issue. So with that being said, I think I would like to have everyone to also consider that piece, even the ones that are targeted. Even you can be targeted regardless. And I saw one in front of Reiki yesterday. It was creepy as hell, but I was annoyed. It was me mugging him. Yeah, things like that. So
yeah. And I think that, like, what have we learned in the last, even since last September when we first had a parent detained outside of a building, is that the situation is going to change quickly, right? And so whatever we get to tonight is likely not going to be our solution forever. Because everything is changing so quickly. And, I think I've been hearing maybe a little bit of kind of alignment around some things. So I would like to put forward a motion and just see where we are as a board. So I would like to make the motion that we continue to monitor attendance and that we do not move forward with an emergency remote plan right now. But if attendance gets back to 20%, absence, that would trigger another emergency meeting. And in the meantime, we move forward on targeted tutoring. So that is my motion. I know it's long. I'll say it again, and then I'd be looking for a second. So I'm making the motion to just continue to monitor attendance, not moving forward with the emergency plan right now. But if attendance gets to 20% absent, we would trigger another emergency meeting to revisit this. Is there a second?
no, that was a question.
Not yet. I'm looking for a second. Board Member Bryden? Okay. Any questions on the motion?
Yes. Does this also mean that it's not going to be continued to be prepared and worked on? Or
No.
is it?
No, so the preparation and planning could still continue.
Okay.
Other questions from the board? Board Member Bryden?
Thanks, Chair. I'm wondering if you would consider a friendly amendment in where the part where you talked about tutoring, would you consider having that phrased a little bit more generally to say interventions including things like tutoring so that there's more flexibility?
Yep. So that I fully accept that. Vice Chair Bondo? Getting more questions?
No, it was just the same thing then Bryden just mentioned. I want that friendly amendment around the tutoring as well.
Yeah. totally accept. Any other questions from the board on the motion that's on the floor?
Yeah, just let me just confirm. Ryan, you guys are still going to be working on preparing in case this does happen, just because it's a high possibility, right?
We would, yeah.
Okay.
And, I think I just wanted to add to that, like we are in daily contact with the school watch. We're still working with Metro. I have been organizing for the last couple of days around staff transportation. So there's lots of stuff that's going to continue to happen to make sure that we are, having the pulse of what's going on in addition to the data. Board Member Yusra Ali, go ahead.
I might just be misunderstanding, but when you say 20%, we heard a 20% last night for one of the schools. Do you mean like district-wise? And does it have to be like it can be 20% one day or 20% over a certain amount of, you know what I mean, days?
Yeah, appreciate the clarifying question, Board Member Yusra Ali. I think it should be district-wide 20%, and one day is enough to flag the emergency meeting.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Oh, Board Member Bryden?
Thank you for that clarification about district-wide 20%. I'm feeling like I don't want to overcomplicate, but if district-wide we're at 19, but there's a school at 35, I mean, I feel like if any, is there an opportunity to have mechanisms in place at a site level as well?
Yeah, we could change the motion. We can do whatever we like.
Whatever we want. I would be
yeah.
interested in making an amendment in that way. I also see that Dr. Scallon has his hand up, so I'm curious whether there's operationally a challenge with what I'm talking about.
I think he might have a different thought. Superintendent Scallon, go first. And Board Member Bryden, if you can think about what threshold that might be, that would be helpful.
No operational challenge. I think we could also be hesitant if the board actually wants to do this, but we could be and completely offer to share every day the attendance. As board members could also work with the chair to decide that based on what they're seeing at an individual school or district overall, that it's necessary. So if we don't want to wordsmith an individual school threshold, we would certainly flag if there's a school that got back to 30 around it. I actually raised my hand just to say that I would just put one caveat in with the amount of unknown about tomorrow and the National Day of Strike, that I just think that either we don't count tomorrow or that there be slightly more discretion in the wording than it just automatically triggering a meeting.
Yeah, I think I would be fine with it starting on Monday. However, I just want to write all of this down if I can, just so that we have it on the record. So just one moment. Board Member Opperman?
What you're doing, I just wanted to bring up the idea of providing more transportation as the issue. And the thing about the high school is that Metro is not as safe as a yellow bus. That's the truth of it. They can get on. I've talked to some people, and I think Dr. Scallon has as well. But it's that is a piece for the high school that is also difficult to.
Thank you, Board Member Opperman. Board Member Bryden, go ahead.
I was going to ask, is it possible for you to share your screen with the text of the motion, particularly as we're making friendly amendments? And
yes, if someone could give me that power.
Chair, you should be good to share now.
Yep.
It's a friendly amendment to the sharing. Could we go to either 200% or?
Yeah, sorry, Julie.
Thank you.
You know, it's small on my screen too. I needed to change it. What is the date on Monday?
It's the 2nd.
Oh.
And can I make from a friendly amendment as a move forward with emergency activation of an emergency remote option so that it's clear that we're prepared for one?
Sorry, everyone.
It's fine.
Hold on. Board Member Biden.
Thank you. So I was just going to say that another area of generality that I would appreciate would be, continue to prepare for future remote emergency learning. Do we have to specify that? Can we say continue to prepare for, basically leaving the staff open to prepare in whatever way like remote emergency learning is one mechanism, but I would love it if we can be more general so that lots of strategies are encompassed within what we're describing.
Well, I do think that tonight, though, we're specifically talking about remote learning, and that's like the thing that the board has to vote on. So I see what you're saying, and I'm not sure it needs to be here.
Okay.
Was there another hand? Okay. Yeah.
Maybe just I don't know if this needs that to be in there, but after remote emergency learning and to proceed to redistribute resources so that.
Yeah, that's a good verb. Okay, so I'm gonna, that was a little bit of a messy Robert's rules. He would not be pleased with us, but I would like to read the motion again. We'll just go from the top of this. So motion to not move forward with activation of emergency remote option, but to continue to monitor attendance daily if absences rise to 20% overall, or a percentage at a single school, which we can decide in the discussion part of this. It will trigger an emergency meeting of the board. This monitoring will start February 2nd, 2026. The board will continue to expect the district to prepare for future remote emergency learning and to proceed to redistribute resources to support students who have experienced learning loss. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Are there any questions from the board?
Yeah, is it gonna matter that like I'm experienced learning loss, that definition itself, or do we want to be more specific, or is that good? I'm okay with it. I just wanted to like.
Yeah, no, I I had the same game of ping pong going in my head. I think leaving it general is okay. Other questions from the board? Okay, then I'm going to now open for public comment. And I'm going to stop sharing because I need to be able to see my screens. So if there is anyone that would like to give public comment, you can raise your hand, and I'm just going to go over the guidelines quickly. So members of the public may speak on this subject of the vote, but nothing else. Comments are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes or 6 minutes for individuals using an interpreter to make their comment. Individuals may not relinquish a portion of their allotted time to another speaker. The board may not respond to comments, and please refrain from responding in the audience. Speakers must refrain from engaging in disruptive conduct, including but not limited to using vulgar and/or obscene language, threatening others, using words or by other actions, using pejorative or discriminatory language with reference to a person or a group on the basis of their religion, ethnicity, nationality, race, color, descent, gender, or other identity factor, making defamatory comments exceeding the allotted time limits, talking over or interrupting others, offering repetitive comments, and offering comment on matters unrelated to the school district's programs, policies, or operations. I will stop any public comment that is contrary to these rules. You'll raise your hand if you want to give public comment, and please start by introducing yourself with your name and address. And I'll let you know when you have 30 seconds remaining and when your time is up. So Priscilla, go ahead. Whenever you're ready.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, I'm Priscilla Bethencourt. I am the McKinney Event Liaison for Portland Public School, and I live in Lyman. First of all, I would like to say how I appreciate all the work being put into everything that is happening by the district. It is really going it is really being seen by all of us. So thank you, board, and thank you all the staff who are supporting our families at this time. I also want to point out a few of my concerns. The number one is I see that data is important, but at this time, I don't see how important it is, because the way I feel is that fear can cause a lot of trauma on a lot of our students and families. And if we are coming up with a process to support one or two students that is not coming to school because of fear, we are still supporting that student, and that it is still important to support that student through this time. So I don't see the need to be looking at the data right now to implement the services and provide support to that specifically student. The other thing that I want to say is that even though this message has come today as a relief for many of our family has not been a relief, and they're still not sending or considering sending kids to school. And we have actually heard from families that ICE was in their house yesterday. We have families that witnessed that. I'm from Lyman, so I come through many different districts, and I can guarantee you that ICE presence was in Saco many times today, and families are aware of that. So I don't see that the families would actually be comfortable sending the kids. And if the school could provide a solution for those families to go through this difficult time, I think this will encourage them more and more every day to send their kids back to school eventually when they feel safe to do that. And I think if we could provide that option, it would be great for their kids. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to give public comment? If so, please raise your Zoom hand. Okay, seeing no more Zoom hands, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment. Is there any discussion from the board? Vice Chair Bondo, go ahead.
Yes, I would like just to be clear about on the support for the learning loss. Then we have a way, because the way I want feeling to see, like, the tutoring can be one of the options. Then family can feel relieved, because if we can navigate to the area or to freeze funding so they can have some target tutoring for those students who really need to stay home and start having some education. So I'm just wondering if the language can be tweaked to that tutoring options can be seen on that motion, or we just keep it as a general, like you mentioned.
Or what you would like to see the tutoring language added? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, as a friendly amendment.
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Board Member Opperman?
Yes, I appreciate Priscilla's comments, and not that it has to change this particular motion, but I wonder if among those who are in an individual kind of situation, if a parent contacted the school, their child's out sick, or whatever, that a particular teacher might be able to, give some context to that. That's a difficult thing, but Priscilla deals with a whole group of people who are in a unique situation. So that's just my thought on that. I'm not saying it's something that we need to direct, but it could perhaps happen anyway.
Board Member Ali?
Yeah, I kind of just want to make sure that we understand exactly what Priscilla was saying. It was to support the remote learning right now? Is that, or create something that exists? Okay.
Any other discussion from the board? I will just say that I think this is just an incredibly hard situation that our district and others are finding themselves in, and that there's just not a one solution that is going to get us to where we want to be right now. And I do believe that, I just know so many people are watching this and caring about it all across our community. And I think that that is the way to continue to move forward. And just knowing as a board, we can come back together at any point and make a different decision. And I just, recognize that everybody here wants to get kids back into school as quickly as possible, but also just really acknowledging the trauma that has happened in our community over these last couple of weeks, on top of, all the other things that our families hold. So just wanted to acknowledge all of those things. Board Member Ali, is this the last? I do wanted to get to a vote. I have to get a kiddo into bed soon, so we need to
I got you.
move forward. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to say that, like, yeah, I'm more than happy to go for the vote. And, honestly, it's after Monday, tomorrow's going to probably be a big day because of the national strike. And it's after Monday trying to identify, and people are working in the background, right, to make the possibility of it. So it could be that, Monday afternoon, or evening, or Tuesday, we have this meeting again. So I just want to give a middle reassurance of that. There's a high possibility that it might happen.
Thank you, Board Member Ali, and Board Member Bryden, go ahead.
Thank you. I have a procedural question. It's getting late and I think everybody's tired, and I wanted to confirm whether we closed public comment because I see somebody has their hand up.
Thank you for flagging. Yes, public comment is closed. So at this point,
they could send an email.
Yes, certainly. So at this point, I would like to call the vote. So Dr. Warren, if you could please call the roll, and I'd love to read the motion one more time. So the motion is for the consideration and action not to move forward with the activation of emergency remote option, but continue to monitor attendance daily. If absences rise to 20% overall, it will trigger an emergency meeting of the board. This monitoring will start February 2nd, 2026. The board will continue to expect the district to prepare for future emergency learning and proceed to redistribute resources to provide tutoring and other supports for students who have experienced learning loss. Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo,
Yes.
Member Bryden,
Yes.
Member Lena,
Yes.
Member Noor, Member Opperman,
Yes.
Member Sawtell.
Yes.
I don't believe we have the student representatives with us. And then Chair Lentz.
Yes, so the motion passes unanimously. Thank you all for your participation and for coming to an emergency meeting. We will surely be in touch tomorrow with updated numbers, and we can go from there. So with that, I'm going to move to adjourn. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Opperman. All those in favor? Great. We are adjourned at 9:22 p.m. Thank you all.